What's up, everybody? Gorilla Gang 3421 podcast here, coming to you after a week off. Hope everybody enjoyed Easter. I'm the Vanilla Gorilla. This is
One man gang.
and we are shooting this podcast. It'll be up later on in the week on the website. We'll put the link in the description. Got a few topics today. Still doing the coronavirus. Delaware actually had a lot of cases pop up this past week. And our first topic is related. We're going to talk about the coronavirus impact. We're going to talk about the stimulus check that a lot of people received. And then go into should they or should they not open the states up.
And just a couple of changes too that I've seen because, as I've stated before, I drive a truck and, all of it is not in Delaware. Some of it is. But New Jersey has made it mandatory that you wear a mask going into the stores. You're not even allowed in the stores. And I've seen people in there without masks on, but they do threaten like a fine or something like that for you not wearing it. Maryland, I think, has adapted the same policy, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you can't go in the liquor store.
And Delaware, there are some stores that have signs up, but it's not like a statewide, mandatory thing at this point.
Not yet.
I believe it's coming soon.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not mistaken. Unfortunately, I don't go as far as New York, so I don't know what's going on there, but you would imagine that.
New York's got it rough.
Yeah, they're probably one of the first places I would think that adapted maybe a mass culture, but maybe I'm mistaken. Like I said, I haven't been to New York in a while myself, so not sure what's going on there.
And I am eating. I didn't eat lunch, so I'm eating. These are little mini crab cakes. There's calamari and clams. Mark don't eat that stuff, so.
No, I do eat. What do you have now? I've ate calamari before.
Clams, and then crab balls.
Don't eat clams. Okay. I thought they were scallops for a second.
Yeah, that's what somebody just asked. Are they scallops? No, they're crab balls.
So scallops, shrimp, certain fish, and all fried. I think the only fish I'll eat
Calamari.
baked is salmon, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe a couple other things, but I'm not a big seafood person. Cam loves seafood.
But Mark ate Wendy's, so I'm not sitting here just being fat, eating a whole plate of food and not sharing.
No, and that's one thing.
Whatever he wants, he can take off the plate. I don't care.
Yeah, my man is very, very, very generous with sharing food and things like that. And a lot of times, I'll come over. He loves to cook, so I'm a beneficiary of that. And I've left here happy, full and happy many a time. So it definitely isn't a selfish thing for sure.
So, thousands of people got stimulus checks this week. I actually got one.
I did not get mine yet, so I'm not happy about that.
But you didn't file 2019 yet, did you?
2000? No.
So that's probably why. So you're the 2018. So,
So
yeah, I think they did. People that filed 2019, they shot those out first.
Got you.
And I will say, they did short me $500. So,
oh wow,
give me my damn $500. Well, you're supposed to get $500 for each dependent. And this year I filed. I claimed Colin, Selena, and Carter. So they did short me, but I'm not that worried about it. I've been working. I work at Amazon. I work from home, so I've been working. My bills are paid, so didn't necessarily need it, but I'm also not going to turn it away.
Exactly. And I will say both of us have been, fortunate enough through this whole thing to have continued working. I don't think either one of us has missed any days or anything like that.
Tori.
And my heart definitely goes out to you guys who, had to stop working or, whatever the situation is that might have put you out of place, and I'm definitely sympathetic, empathetic, or whatever you want to call it to your situation for sure.
But on the other hand, I'd rather people not be working and be safe. I think, yeah, it sucks in the short term for a lot of people that aren't able to go to work. Trust me, it's not the best thing. I don't enjoy being Selena's teacher here.
Right.
I'm not getting paid to be her teacher. But I do think the fact that everything is shut down is reducing. I think the spread could be a lot worse if everything was still open. I know that in the Senate and the House, they're open to reopening everything as long as the federal government can provide testing for people. That's kind of the sticking point right now. They don't have enough tests to test people, and if the state and local governments were able to provide testing, and observe the social distancing and all that stuff, then it would be something that that everybody would be okay for.
I gotta say that with coronavirus not being a new thing, even though this is a new strand of it, I'm actually surprised with this being a pandemic that they haven't came up with a vaccine yet. Now, I will say this: I don't know enough.
So there, I'm gonna cut you off there
Yeah,
because
no
there
problem.
is something called Remlicar or something. That's an experimental one that is curing people, and they're able to send them home.
Okay.
But it's like one of those trial things. I think there's only been one death, which obviously is too many, and that's probably, I would venture to say, it's more like probably a bad reaction to the drug. But they do have this vaccine apparently that is in the trial phases and is showing promise. And like I said, it's everybody that's taken it except one person has been able to go home and just be fine.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, well, that's better. At least there's some leeway. I haven't even heard anything about that yet. So.
It's like Remlicar or something, somewhere along those lines. But yeah, they've been using it and it's really been effective.
I will say this too as an update. Some of you may know that I'm somewhat of a gun enthusiast, and I've been to the at least one particular gun shop here in Delaware a little often, and I will say things have seemed to go a little bit more back towards normalcy with them being overly crowded and them not
You have to
having
make
supplies.
appointments.
You don't have to anymore. The first time that I went there in the thick of this, I did call and make an appointment, and I had put something on layaway, and I went and got it a week later. And I said to the guy, "Should I make an appointment now?" He was like, "No, no, you should be fine. We're trying to cycle people in as much as we can."
Right.
However, this particular store will only let 4 people in at a time. So even if it's not crowded, it still can feel that way because you're cycling
Right.
people in and out.
So here's what I think is going to be the most interesting thing to happen this year. What the world looks like post coronavirus.
Right.
Do we still observe social distancing? Is fist bumping the new norm instead of shaking hands? I'm interested to see all these places that have these plastic barriers up.
Right.
Do they keep the plastic barrier protecting the employees at stores?
Well, I have an opinion on that actually, well, first of all, let's start with the people. I think people who you see now who don't care and who are, because you see those, I think they're not going to change at all if they're still here for that matter. That's not going to change at all. I think people who have adopted a new way of doing things, meaning, wearing a mask or whatever, I think they are going to be for some time still a little fearful to, take those things off or change their habits, so to speak. There's going to be some people that right away change and just believe everything that they're told on TV. Hey, this is gone, what have you, And, it's almost to a point now, I would say, It's to a point now. What's going on, Marshall? I would say it's to a point now where there's been trust loss because of the whole CDC thing.
Sure.
So I think there'll be people who just don't believe it, and that'll, you know. And there's been people who have honestly been living for a moment like this. There's these group of preppers, if you never heard of them. Now,
Doomsday preppers, yeah.
Yeah, there's some that
There's
extreme.
a show, isn't it?
Yeah. There's some that extreme that are doomsday preppers. You know, my nephew and his wife are preppers, but I wouldn't say it's to an extreme point. It's to the point of just keeping ourselves safe. You understand? So those extreme people, of course, you know, knowing, you know, the lies that might have been told through the CDC or the, let me not say lies, the misguidance, if you will. Of course, they're not going to be trustworthy of that. You know what I mean? So yeah, it will be interesting because you will still have people living, even if it really is post coronavirus, still living like they're in the thick of it.
So Tori just asked, you think they're going to continue with stimulus checks? They're talking about $2,000 a month. So that is something that was proposed in the House, $2,000 a month for the duration. Unfortunately, the House can pass that tomorrow morning, but what will happen is it'll get to the Senate, and because the Senate Republicans are essentially on the same side as Trump, and Trump wants to reopen everything, that's never going to get signed into the same way the stimulus check is, because if they're giving everybody that doesn't work $2,000, so they're going to continue the stimulus checks. Obviously, everybody that filed 2019 is getting theirs. 2018 will get through the next round, and then people that don't have direct deposit are obviously getting mailed checks, which are delayed because Donald Trump wanted to sign them all personally, or he wanted his name put on them, so that delayed them a couple more weeks. But yeah, that $2,000 a month, it'll get passed in the House and then defeated in the Senate, because essentially the Republicans want to make sure that are trying to reopen everything in a rush. And so Donald Trump will never sign that. So no, that $2,000 a month thing won't work out.
I would say this too, that even if they did do something like that, it would only last as long as needed. And keep in mind that the government has never really done anything that's not going to benefit them as well in the end. So, you know, all of this money coming to us is just to try to put it back into an economy that's hurting from being shut down. Okay? So if people continue to take that money and save it for some reason, you know, I think it would stop a little faster. Than, you know, they would come up with something like, well, I guess Americans aren't really hurting like we thought they were because they're not going out spending the money or what have you. So that's anything that's not going to benefit them in the end isn't going to last for a long time. That's just with anything. You know, a buddy of mine sent me a video today on Messenger, a real good friend of mine. And it was basically this guy asked Alexa a question and said, did the government plan the coronavirus? Okay, now, first of all, I'm not, yeah, I know, but let me get through it. First of all, I'm not a person that just automatically believes a conspiracy theory. You got to look into that for yourself, otherwise you'll go crazy, you'll go nuts. So my thing is, number one, how would it, the first question you got to ask yourself about the government doing anything, whether it's a positive or negative thing, how does it benefit them? If you cannot come up with an answer of how it benefits the country, and you can't come up with an answer, then most likely they didn't do it. Right. Because it doesn't make sense. Okay. Now, anybody can take a voice, because this voice didn't exactly sound like the standard Alexa's voice anyway. But anybody can take a voice, play it, and have a light beam on a device. That's nothing. You know, he could have asked it a question, turn the light down, and had the voice recorded to fit how the light's moving or whatever. You know, if you ever used Alexa before, you'll know what I'm talking about. So all of these, I would say for your own sake, there's going to be a lot of videos that are some kind of conspiracy thing, especially now. Look into it. Don't just believe it because it's been said. Somebody showed a video and they're claiming, hurry up and repost this because it's going to be taken down. You know, there's a lot of bullshit out there, so please don't subscribe to it. We're already panicked enough. Nobody should be doing that.
So she asked about everything opening up. So yeah, that is one thing. And it's just funny, that dynamic of opening things up versus, and
Well, I'm not.
yeah. So things are going to open up, but they're going to open up slowly. Like in Delaware, things will slowly open. We were kind of late to the virus, like a lot of other states preceded us and were really bad. I think the governor's plan, the governor of Delaware anyway, his plan was May 15th begin to open things up, but only if employees at whatever establishment are wearing masks and gloves. Everybody still has to observe social distancing, etc. Now, I don't know what that means for like gyms.
No, I think gyms will still be
And that type of thing.
down.
But
Yep, exactly, Marshall.
see.
Like the 5G conspiracy.
we'll see. It's up to each individual governor. I know New York is nowhere near ready to reopen. Like I said, Delaware is not. New Jersey, Maryland, and PA, I think over the next few weeks are starting to reopen. But again, they have to observe that social distancing in places that are open, and I think all employees are going to have to wear masks and gloves. But here's the crazy thing. They want you to wear a mask and gloves, but you can't get them anywhere. Like, make them available. Like, don't say it's mandatory for you to wear a mask and glove and you don't have one. You don't able. Even Amazon, if you try to order mask or glove, it says the only way you can get them is if you're a healthcare worker or a first responder. Okay, I understand that. Get it. But what about us normal people?
Right.
Like, I need a mask. I need gloves too. Like, so yeah, it's kind of rough when they don't have what you need available.
Hey, my man just said that in Utah, people walking around like ain't nothing happening. Yeah.
Well, they just opened up the beaches in Florida. Do you see
Yeah,
the
they
pictures of
reopened them. They had shut them down,
Mass-
reopened them. Do you know there was I don't know if it was a mayor or something in a town where they had a beach open, refused. It was being ordered to close it and refused. And I heard that happen somewhere in Maryland as well. Somebody was like, look, I'm going to keep this open. And the person's like, I guarantee you're not. So there's even a power struggle with that. With like maybe, I don't know if it's local versus federal or what have you. Okay. So there's even a battle with that. So it's just ridiculous how cavalier some people's attitude are about it. Now, granted, I've taken some stuff that I read off the CDC website. It wasn't that I was being cavalier, but, I was taking it as they know more about the situation than I do. In hindsight, it seems like a lot of that was just to control, once again, who has the mask. Because at first it wasn't like this is just for healthcare providers. It was like anybody can get it who pays the price. You know what I mean? And, I understand why first responders need the mask. I get it. But you're absolutely right. Like, we're not, what happens if all the first responders die? You need somebody else to pick up the slack. You know what I mean? Even if they have to be taught. So you don't just disregard, the regular citizens or what have you. I mean, I'm considered in essential employment with what I do. You know what I mean? Why am I not, somewhat as important as that person?
Well, I think even at Amazon, so in the FCs, you have to wear a mask now.
Yeah, I heard about that because Amazon.
They take your temperature when you come in.
Yeah. You know why though, right?
Yeah.
They've
if you have
been
a
hit
fever,
with a
you
lot
go
of
home.
cases.
I mean, there's 4,000 people in that building. Though.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I'm just saying, at first it seems like Amazon was almost like it's not a big deal. Then that New York thing happened. You know what I mean? And then they got investigated.
Yep.
They got
Make me one too,
investigated
Tori.
by. They got investigated They got investigated by the state about that whole thing in New York because they were saying, the guy was supposed to be off because he had tested positive or something about that, and I don't even know what's going on with that case. Have you heard any more about it? Okay.
I know the mayor and the attorney general ordered an investigation into that guy's firing, but yeah, so stay home. Things will open up. I know it sucks for people that aren't getting a paycheck now. I did see a couple people on Facebook. They did start to get the $600 unemployment.
Did you see that?
So I know it sucks.
My buddy, I'm not going to state his name. He's on unemployment, and he hasn't gotten a check yet. I think this was supposed to be a second check. That really.
I know the one dude I'm talking about. So they apparently doubled his check. Okay. But unfortunately, when they double your check,
more taxes.
It's more taxes taken out. So
right now, with unemployment, it's been years and years ago. I was on unemployment, like when I was younger, and I think you had an option at that time whether to have taxes taken out or not. Or am I?
It's not, I have no idea.
Okay.
No. But things will eventually open up. Hopefully, the Remicade, whatever that vaccine is, ends up being approved, and there's just a vaccine. I think I was watching that guy, Dr. Fauci, or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
So he was saying, so some Fox News anchor said, isn't it just like HIV and SARS, blah, blah, blah. And so he was talking about how, well, there's no vaccine, obviously, for HIV and AIDS, but there is a treatment path that allows people with HIV and AIDS to live long, normal lives.
Yeah, you hear about Biktarvy all the time now. They run those commercials.
SARS he said SARS just went away. They were in the midst of development of a vaccine for SARS, and it just literally went away. And the potential is there for the coronavirus to go away, but it's unlikely. Thank you, Marshall.
You do have the option to have taxes taken out.
So it's unlikely that coronavirus will go away. That's just something that our bodies will have to build immunity towards. And, hopefully nobody that's watching or either of us or our families get it. But, the great thing about coronavirus, if there is one, is that it has a high survivability rate. So it does have a very, very low mortality rate. So just keep yourselves healthy. You should be fine. Fingers crossed, knock on wood, all that good stuff. We'll see.
I read somewhere that eating healthier foods is, they got all these prevention tips. Eating healthier food, does help against it. But if you go in the store, what's the knockoff on healthier food?
All healthy food's gone.
And it's more expensive.
Sure.
Too. Yeah.
But that's just the way of the world. Anything that's good for you. Like say you want organic stuff, you go to Whole Foods, it's double the price of normal stuff.
Yeah. But even though that's the way of the world, isn't that a wrong way of the world, wouldn't you think?
It's terrible. The way that at least American economy works. Yeah, it is. Like you go to Whole Foods, your bill is double what you would be at Acme, but you're getting a shittier quality of food when you go into Acme versus Whole Foods. So they say, you want to live longer, eat healthier. Well, shit, I need a second job.
I need a stimulus
and a
for
third
better
job
food.
and a stimulus check for the damn organic food.
Right.
Luckily, I use ButcherBox. Once a month meat delivery. It's all grass-fed, pasture-raised chicken, Heritage Farm pork. So I do get that meat, and it's I think $270, and it's like a month supply of steaks and stuff sitting over there in the freezer. So obviously this is not organic or healthy. It's actually overcooked a little bit. Those clams are hard as rock.